Thank you. I think we're sticking pretty well to time today. Thank you. Now, this next session that we're going to be talking about it's really just an overview of equity and the community. And very privileged to have Pacific Island Dancers Marlon Brando.
Keep it coming.
Who is a Unitec Actors graduate from 2002.
Yeah,
2002, and has worked in many shows on stage and as a stand-up comedian and in television and film. And is currently appearing in Auckland Days, of course, which has its first commercial broadcast television run of season 2, or they were playing season 1?
We cut season 1 for the telly and we'll start shooting season 2 in about 3 weeks.
Fantastic. And that's happening at the end of a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So
a couple of weeks.
It's 2 months. So.
And also we have Jeff Szusterman, who is Vice President of Equity and is 95 graduate of Toi Whakaari, and has worked as a professional actor and director for television for a number of years, and is the father of a very, very talented child. Awesome in these sessions so far.
Whose mum is on her way right now.
So, I'd like to just frame up a couple of things for you before we begin. Now, as students, you may or may not be aware that it is free for you to join Equity while you're a student. And how many of you are actually members? So far?
Oh, cool.
So still quite a number of you who aren't members yet. I really encourage you to consider signing up, and at the end of this session downstairs, we will have registration available to you guys, and access to be able to sign up, and Anna will be able to follow that up with you at the end of the session. But perhaps you're still wondering what having a union is about, why we need a union. So my first question to you guys, why? Why do we need a union? Why do we need to be together?
Because if we want to be able to have some sense of being able to determine our careers, we have a better option to do it together as opposed to individually. That's why I reckon we're part of a union, and that's why I reckon a union exists. And a short answer. Can I go a little longer?
Go a little longer. Yeah.
Going a little longer in the current industrial climate that we're living in globally, unions are being smashed left, right and centre because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to get rid of people that argue for a minimum baseline wage. It's cheaper to get rid of people that argue for minimum terms and conditions for the engagement of their work, whatever their work may be. And in an industry like film and television in particular, theatres, but film and television in particular, it's one of the only industries left where we can openly discriminate. So I think it's even more important that in an industry that is as visual, as high profile, and as full of discrimination, albeit for possibly legitimate reasons, the discrimination, possibly, I say possibly, under advisement, I think that it's even more important that we show ourselves as a union and work together. Actors are incredibly vulnerable creatures. Not just because of the nature of it, what it is that they do, but it's also the nature of how it is done and how that business is conducted. That makes us incredibly vulnerable. And in order to be able to do our jobs as well as we can, and as openly and honestly as we can, we need to be emotionally available. And the protection that being part of a union can afford you to enable you to be openly available emotionally to do your job is immeasurable. That was a clumsy way to say it, but I think you understood what I mean. Does anyone not understand what I mean? No, I understood completely what I meant. Do you understand what I meant? Okay, great. Then I'll shut up. Bust?
No, yeah, I mean, what he said. Yeah, I mean, anything that you would want to do, or, you know, it's always better to do it together. I mean, as an individual, you could get shot down so easily. And there are people in this game that have been playing this game for years that will know every which way to shoot you down, and make you feel like what you do is worthless, or worth less than what it is. And by sticking together, and I think what Jeff was saying there, because we're all actors, we all know the sorts of things that we need to be able to do our jobs. And some of the things that we need might sound like fluff to someone who doesn't quite get the need for, look, I need a quiet space. Someone that holds or brings a light might not understand why you need and it just might sound a bit precious or whatever. But those are the sorts of things that, conditions that we need to be able to do our job, because like Jeff said, we have to be emotionally available like that. Who can do that,
Takes an incredible amount of concentration and focus to be that available.
That is a skill that you guys are training, that we've been working in, that very few people can do that, can be emotionally available on cue and give a part of your soul to be captured so that people can be entertained or learn from it. So that to me is a valuable skill, and too often or too easily we can get undervalued, and we get told that it's probably not worth as much as you think it is, when really it is worth something. And if we stand together and go, well, if all of us think that a quiet space is a good thing to have, then maybe these people have got a point, so the people that we talk to can make those things available to us. So that's why I think a union is important, because sometimes you might have an issue or something, and through the union you might find that it's a common issue. So it's a place where you can talk these things out and feel supported, that there are other people that kind of know what you're going through, and then we can take a viewpoint and then take it to the table.
It's been particularly busy 12 to 18 months for the union and for the board, who are taking forward a lot of what the whole union have come together on towards the standard contracts and negotiations and things. How about you guys? Could you expand a little bit on some of the other initiatives, a broad range of the initiatives that are a part of being a part of equity that members have access to?
First and foremost, the clearest way to get an understanding of what you can give yourselves by being a member of Actors Equity is to go online. That resource that is the website is full of information as to what is available to you through strength of being a member. It's actorsequity.org.nz, all one word. What we are working on currently, most specifically, is we're working on a standard contract for the engagement of performers in New Zealand film and television productions. So we've been negotiating that we've been working on that for the last 2 years. I mean, we've wanted it for a lot longer, but we've been actively working on it for the last 2 years. And I don't think it's too much for me to be able to say we're actually very, very close to having an agreement. And that's unprecedented since the late 80s. You can take the keys, mate. You can take the keys. It's totally cool. She can't reach the pedals, so it's okay. We are months away from having that agreement, which is unprecedented, and I have to say, happening a lot quicker than I thought that possibly it would. So this is all good, and the fact is that a lot of people understand that the climate is changing, the whole game is changing. So it's time to revisit all these things. So that predominantly is what we're working on most specifically at the moment. The other thing that we're working on, of course, is days like this, which is all to do with building membership. The more members we have, the more voice we have. If you go, no, we don't publish who our members are, of course we don't. But it's safe to say that of the people that you watch on television on a regular basis, 80% of those people, I think it's safe to say, 80% would be members of New Zealand Actors Equity. Basically, we have the working actors in New Zealand, because these are the professionals. These are the people that say, I'm an actor, this is what I do, I want to be recognised for being professional, here's my professional association. And being part of this union should be as much of your professional life as it is of having an agent, or having an accountant, or a lawyer, that helps do your negotiations, or a manager if you went overseas to a big market like LA, right? And indeed, to be able to work as a professional overseas, in markets like Los Angeles, you do need to be a member of the union. They insist. And a lot of the New Zealand actors that do work overseas are members of those overseas unions, like SAG, like American Actors Equity, or AFTRA, which is the Association of Film and Television Recording Artists. They do voiceovers and stuff like that. SAG's the big actors union, Screen Actors Guild. So it's a marker of your professionalism. And that's what we're moving towards in this country. We're moving towards saying we're professional. We're not just people that you may point a light at and you think, oh, I could do better than that. No, actually, we're professional. And in order for us to be able to work the magic that we work and have worked for thousands of years, we need to have a mark of respect that acknowledges that. And that's what union membership is. Wow, I just get all these chairs. Okay.
In addition to the way the union is working for its members, and it is working for its members, the things that are being pushed forward to help increase the standards, better standards for actors, are things that have come from the membership, from members actually making suggestions, questioning what's the current norm, and the board and associates are actually working to put those ideas towards action. So it's not just a select few within the union, it is the membership that drives it forward.
The union is the members.
Yeah, the union is the members. Yeah.
I'm an 80s baby, so by the time I came around to be sort of conscious about anything, all the unions or whatever, something had happened and the unions weren't a normal thing anymore. So I grew up in a period where just, everyone was kind of out for themselves. And then after drama school, I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but when I came out of drama school, I didn't know what to expect from my agent, what their role was apart from getting me auditions. And so equity back in those days was virtually like a part of a baker's union or something. It was very, very weak. And so there was no real incentive to join because it was like, well, what do who are you? Just like 10 people strong. And so the significance of this standard contract, because I'm not sure if it's the context of this is like Jeff said, it's unprecedented, but it's huge because this is the context. When your agent negotiates your contract, at the moment, there's a whole list of stuff. They have to go through every single person's contract line by line and go, let's make sure that that's all in. Because what tends to happen is that between seasons or something like that, a contract will come back and a line's suddenly missing, or 5 lines are suddenly missing. So this contract, your second one, is worse than your first one, but your agent has to go through all of that, line by line, for every single person on their books. And I didn't realise for a long time that really is, that's part of their job, but they'd rather not have to spend time doing that. If we could get something that's just standard, so that's the same all the time, that'll make life so much easier, so that for each individual person, if you're a star or you're entry level, so they can negotiate accordingly above that, and we don't have to worry about this. Now, for so long, this standard thing didn't exist. So every single one of us was completely vulnerable to any kind of manipulation, and if your agent didn't pick it up, then that was fucking, well, you screwed. And you sign the thing, you go, oh crap, we missed that one little fine point that means renders all this useless or all that invalid, and all these sorts of things. So, for me, joining the union, that's the union's job to look out for that stuff, and by the union's job, that's us. That's everyone. Someone goes, hey, I've got this contract, what is this? Then everyone go, oh shit, look at that, someone's trying to pull a fast one. Alright, everyone, look out for this kind of, that's the sort of thing. We look out for each other, and and if the problem is big enough, this is the cool thing about it, is that we have access to, we actually have teeth. We actually have teeth. If there's a problem, we have a lawyer on retainer that can go, oh, look at that. Now, you think about if you had a problem individually, I'm going to sort it out myself, you had to go pay for a lawyer yourself to have a look at it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you take on the entire cost of that, whereas your membership, that's part of what you get from your membership. You get professional support from all the working actors, or 80% of the working actors, and you have all these other resources, the online information, and we have a lawyer on retainer, and all this sort of stuff that it's all about us looking out for ourselves, and we bring any issues that you have, and it's not all about let's all see eye to eye all the time, but it's any issues you have, you it's better to be brought in-house, we discuss it then, sit outside and lob bombs, from the outside. So, and that's, part of what you get for your membership.
And being together, it's not, it takes those issues which can be very negative and it works towards creating positive outcomes and positive solutions together, and also setting better standards for the future and learning from those things, those experiences too. And so there are a lot of positive initiatives that are associated with the community as well. Workshops, for example. There are some fantastic free workshops that are available to union members.
Which probably won't mean a lot to you now, because I know when I came out of drum school, I do not want to go to another class ever again. I've just had 3 years of classes. I just want to go do the shit. But now that I've been out for a while, I'm like, well, I actually feel I need a bit of a tune-up. Something like one of the workshops I'll carry through the voice line will go along, and someone's doing a body thing. It's like, but those things are available.
How many workshops on average would Equity offer in a year?
Maybe about 15.
15.
Including Christchurch and Wellington.
Yeah.
And they're on a range of topics.
That's right.
Yeah.
And also what you can do is you can suggest, workshops. That wouldn't it be cool if we did a workshop? I mean, this didn't mean anything to me. I left drama school about tax. Now, holy shit, tax is a huge thing when you're a working actor, especially if you're working for yourself. And you see, when Jeff said the game is changing, you see this whole thing with Kim.com, the EPWA, all this stuff is happening. And the one thing they all say is it's the old model trying to defend against the new model. The internet is just warping the way things are done. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, before in the old days, there was only one person. If you wanted your stuff seen on TV, you had to go to the gatekeeper who showed it, because that's the only way you'll ever get that shown. And the gatekeeper says, I'm going to take this much. That was your only choice. Now, each and every one of us can be your own individual broadcaster, and whatever work you put in to create your show, your internet show, or whatever that you broadcast, you actually have the potential to reap 100% of the benefit. Do you know what I mean? So that is a huge thing.
You can be the boss.
You can be your own boss, create your own content, get your own following, because the old argument was, New Zealand's only 3 million people. With the internet, your audience is the entire world. You know what I mean? So everything is, all the stuff's changing, and with dealing with that as well, a few, things with the online media and stuff, and how do we respond to that in terms of, what goes into a contract and stuff. But see, this is how much the game is changing, and you guys are on the front edge of that. Some of us older ones are still trying to get ahead to it, how we can, cross over, but you guys are right in the middle of that, and so it's important, that we all kind of keep our heads together and go navigate these waters together, because it's tricky, but it's good. It's exciting.
And if you're members of Equity and you're working in this new territory, then it behooves you to treat your fellow members really well. You know what I mean? Because you will reap rewards down the track if everyone's owner. It's much more, I'm a big fan of democracy. It's much more democratic, Everyone gets a piece. So it's a very exciting time to be a member of New Zealand Actors Equity. There's a lot going on. There's also a number of members' discounts and perks available to you by the sheer virtue of being a member. Ticket prices at the theatre, at the movies, hairdressing, headshots, accounting, accountants, all sorts of things, flowers for opening nights. There's a whole range of members' benefits available on the website that you can take advantage of just by being a member of Actors Equity.
And most of you who go out from your free membership as students into your first year in the industry and having to pay for a membership, it's actually only going to be less than the cost of a Ponsonby coffee a week to maintain your membership. So you get such value in return for it, and it really, the value is incredible. Your professional standards and skills are supported by the union. Your views are recognised and incorporated into how the union moves ahead in the industry. You become a driving force in the industry, and it is important to
And it needs to be appreciated that at this point in time, New Zealand Actors Equity is at the coalface of the new film and television industry in New Zealand. It is moving forward, and it is the actors that are helping it move forward. So here's a chance to get involved and really have a real handle on shaping your future and the way that you're contracted and the way that you're remunerated for your work in this country.
So at this point, I'd like to open the floor to any questions you might have.
Whilst understanding that we're a very union-heavy bunch.
Yeah.
I have a question. Obviously, there's a huge focus on film and TV, and a lot of contracts with that. What about theatre? Because the times that I have needed equity, I haven't actually been able to get any help because I was maybe the only person in the cast who was a member, or there wasn't enough of us to make a change. As much as I'm very supportive of equity, I kind of want to know that we're going to work towards getting better contracts and better relationships with producers and theatre as well within TV and film.
Sure.
The short answer is yes. You please appreciate that New Zealand Actors Equity, where the actor is truly at home, where the home of an actor is, where they are their own bosses in the theatre, by and large. Because between lights up and lights down, it's the actor's floor, it's the actor's medium. So yeah, we are very interested in working with theatres. At this point in time, because we're a small organisation with limited available resources, we're focusing on film and television because it's more high profile. But we have very good relations with the theatre. We put up the Equity Co-op kit as a way for people that want to come together to produce a show together to do it in a professional context. We work with the theatres on a regular basis. We will move towards a theatre contract.
I guess what I mean more is like in Australia, how there's like a standard base rate for amateur DMs and all that.
Yeah.
And that was something that used to be, there used to be that in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it was something that was lost at the turn of the millennium, really. It really disappeared. But yes, these are things that slowly but surely the union is addressing. And remember that if you are having an individual problem within a production, and we can assist and address your issues confidentially, and take it as far as you need it to be taken or want it to be taken at the time. It's important that we know what the issues are when they do come up, and that we do. And of course, I'm sure you realise, we've made every effort to support what your outcomes you need.
Well, yeah, because and how long I've been acting? About 10 years. The theatre side of things, it's like contractually for me, in my experiences, they've always been pretty good. Like I've never had too many big issues with anything on the theatre side of things. There might, but there have been some hairy moments where we had a little mini thing, like we were asked last minute in a certain show would it be okay if the Labour Party came and filmed the show? Just that we might use bits of it for their ad, and then to me I was like, I don't care, because back I was like, I don't know what that means. But there were two people in the cast that were like, I have a big problem with that. So they said, look, you guys think about it, let us know. And we all sat down and said, okay, who wants to be filmed by the Labour Party, and who doesn't care, and who does care and why? And then we had a little chat, and then we all decided, nah, hell no, we can't be seen to be endorsing something, because it was all blah blah, So we all said, nah, we're not going to do it, and that was resolved in the green room. And then when the producer came, are you guys going to do it? We went, no, okay, sweet, and that was that. Do you know what I mean? And so these sort of small issues can be, possibly could be resolved within the thing, but it's for me, the theatre side of stuff, and especially in Auckland, has always been pretty okay. There's never been too many massive
I think that's it. Once with settling the standard contract for film and television is actually going to help to open the door towards creating a standard contract for theatre as well, for professional theatre. A lot of the issues that can come up for theatre can be really attacking on a personal level, say added nudity, for example, on stage, when it's not in the script or it hasn't been expected when you've auditioned for the role. I mean, those are things that are being addressed in the film and television contract that can now start to be put forward into the theatre format and into it. We want it to happen. I think.
Yeah, undeniably. Undeniably. Of course, we would like to have contracts available as templates for production companies, be they in the theatre, television or film, to be able to come to and go, we're making this kind of show, we need that kind of contract. And boom, then everyone knows the playing field is level to begin with, and the agents can only negotiate one way. Right? They can't, at the moment, they're busy trying to fill the holes that are being dug, right? Rather than having a level playing field, it's being excavated underneath them. So when we've addressed that, then we'll be able to move towards building sustainability and capacity within the industry. However, I think it needs to be pointed out that that New Zealand actors are in a comparatively unique situation insofar as we're not employees. We're independent contractors, and that comes with its own set of rules and perils. And one of those perils is there are no base rates of pay. And that's a reason why it's even more important that you are members of New Zealand Actors Equity. Because if remuneration is one thing that you are concerned about, then this would be probably the only platform where we can work towards making it a lot better for everyone. Now, surely there are certain individuals that at this point in time are they're very happy with the way things are because they're of a certain marquee value and they don't need to worry about it. Whatever they're going to get is going to be fine, or more than enough. And the only way that they're going to negotiate is up. But you need to remember that that's what, 2% of all the acting population? So the other 98% are ferreting around, trying to get paid a living wage.
And it's always going to be a long process. Anything that is worked within the union to set standards for people in the industry, it means that it must come through the board, through the people who are fighting for it, to the members. The members must discuss it, the members must bat it around, add their own influences to it, and then it must come back through. And so that process it takes a long time.
Everything that's happening, sorry, Brad, but everything that's happening within the standard contract agreement at the moment, everything that the actors have put forward came from the members. Yeah. It didn't come from the board or the organiser or Australia. It came from the New Zealand membership because we toured the country canvassing what do New Zealand actors want in their contract. And the things that have come back are the things that we've included and that we're now negotiating over. So that's where we're at the moment.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Sort of just following on from that, I've heard like various views about trying to get these standards up, this standard contract, but sort of versus the amount of work and the reasons for overseas TV and film stuff coming here. What are your views on sort of keeping that balance? But because I'm in full support of the standard contract, but there's talk of that damaging the work and the flow of work, and I would say there are some people that are of the opinion that we shouldn't sort of push this too much because we're going to be denying ourselves work.
Yeah.
One
of the things.
Exactly, John. Do you want to go first? Because I can just.
Yeah. Just one of the things that because I worked for a production company, like my day job for a wee while, and so you hear the talk that goes on behind the reception desk. And one of the things that's really weird for production to come down here is one of the first things they ask for is like, what's your standard contract? Everyone in the world works on a standard contract, and as soon as we turn around and say we don't have one, it's like dollar signs go up in the producer's head. It's like, wow, you don't have one. Well, here we go, and then they just come in here and they just go bananas because they can. Do you know what I mean? Like it's an anomaly to not have one. A lot of the things that we're asking for to be to up the standards are things that are super low cost. Do you know what I mean? Like. And things, sometimes it's things that don't even cost that much or anything at all to sort of, to keep things kind of like, it's, a roof over your head, for Christ's sake. Like, something like that, that people find really weird. I worked on a Disney telly movie years ago, and it was, we were out in Bethel's, and all the Kiwi actors were allowed to be in the Easy Up, and the only reason the Easy Up was there on location was because the American actors was in their contract to have shelter on location, and it wasn't in ours. So technically, if they wanted to, they could have told us to go stand under a tree because it wasn't in our contract to have shelter on set. All the Americans had their own campus because that was part of their contract to have a quiet space to prepare in and relax or whatever between things. And we got one, but only because the Americans got one. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not as if the producer, oh shit, we'll keep those guys out in a tent or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But these sorts of things. So it's the whole thing about I guess the fear of like scaring off work to me is it's a myth. It's a bit of a myth because people go, oh, being members of the union is scaring people off. Yet every single production that comes in here, everyone has to be. All the actors are all members of unions. So producers deal with the stuff on a daily basis. It's normal everywhere else except here. So we're actually the anomaly that can be played around with quite easily.
Well, there's a couple of countries around the world, but yeah, this is one of them. There's one thing I want to say to support Fasi's position, and there's another thing that sort of comes before the point that you raised, Alex. The thing I want to say is, for a number of years now, we've had in play a thing called the Pink Book. Has anyone heard of the Pink Book? Has anyone not heard of the Pink Book? Okay, so the Pink Book is a set of recommended guidelines for the engagement of New Zealand performers on film and television shows. It's a set of recommended guidelines. Okay, so this is basically a negotiation between the union and the producers and the agents, who all said, this is where we want our contracts to sit. This is the general area we want our contracts to sit. In the last 7 years at least, we've been seeing that a lot of the contracts that are coming through have areas of the Pink Book just missing. They've gone. They've absolutely gone. So the contracts have been eroding. So the recommended guidelines are not being adhered to. That's why we're working towards this new agreement. Okay. What Fasi's saying about overseas production companies dealing with unions and guilds, and it's not just actors, it's techs as well, around the world, is true. But before that, and I know you asked what are my views. I need to be careful insofar as when I express my views, then my views as Jeff Szusterman. But this is what I know anecdotally and from a journalistic perspective, is that the first thing that they'll look at before they come anywhere in the world is what's the exchange rate. And if the exchange rate's good, then everything else follows from there. And that's the reason they will come or not come, first and foremost. What's the exchange rate? And at 80, 81 cents in the dollar, they're starting to look at South Africa. They're starting to look at Bulgaria, because it's just fucking cheaper. And it's a business. It's a business first. And they're in it to make money. Well, you're right. I suppose everyone's in it to make money. Right? You want to pay for your life. Okay? You're doing it because, yes, you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but it'd be nice to get paid and, pay the rent, pay the bills, save some money, buy a house. I don't know. I don't agree with it, but anyway. And that's Jeff Szusterman, not the Vice President of New Zealand. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is it's exchange rate first, eh? That's what it is first and foremost.
I'd just like to add to that there is a short-term thinking and a long-term thinking.
Yep.
And standard contracts are working towards a long-term goal with a solid foundation. A foundation that can stay in place for the industry for years to come, that can only grow from. Without that, and if we stick to a fear-based short-term thinking,
Yeah.
the quality of our work and the quality of our industry will continue to crumble.
Exactly. Because it's what's on screen that tells and sells. And if the quality of our work is diluted because we're operating from a fear base, the whole industry is going to start. And here's the other cool thing. The other cool thing is, I really, really believe that if New Zealand actors find, if we make this negotiation for a standard agreement, that the other guilds and unions will follow.
We're normally the loudest of all the
No,
departments.
we're actually the ones that get shit done.
Yeah, we're the most vocal, naturally. That's what
We are the ones that get stuff done. And I've worked on both sides. Insofar as I work as a director, I spend a lot of time with producers in television, and I know the conversations. I also work a lot with crew as a director, and I know the conversations, and I know the way the crew work together. And I feel very confident if the New Zealand actors get an agreement for their terms and conditions of engagement, that the techos are going to follow pretty quick. And the writers not long after.
Next question. Any question? Well, perhaps it's a good time to wrap up. Anything in closing you guys would like to say? Sure.
Joyed because Sir Ed McCullen said you had to.
What he said.
I joined because it just makes sense.
There's also, just a great opportunity to get together. I think it was mentioned earlier that it can be very isolating being an actor. And being a member of the union creates so many opportunities to actually get together with your peer base.
We haven't mentioned green rooms.
And green rooms, yes. Any of you been to green rooms yet?
Yeah.
You know, they are regular gatherings that happen at the basement for equity members to
And prospective.
learn about what's happening from behind the scenes, to also just network and get what you are doing out there into your peer base and peer groups, so that you can share ideas and work together towards common goals. The green room is very valuable. Make sure you read your newsletters. They have all of the information all of the time. And also, we mentioned today, Anna said that at 5 o'clock, if I'm right, at the end of today's sessions, there is a bar tab for people. Is that right? Yeah.
So let's get
downstairs, small bar tab, and we encourage you to stay for a couple of hours and use your equity membership to get the discount ticket to Freeload, which is on there at 7 o'clock.
Hey, all I'd like to say is whether you choose to join today or no, please leave your details so that you can stay within the loop.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're going to wake up one day and you're going to go, fuck, I just need to join.
Sorry, can
Now-
I say something that I just remember? Jennifer spoke to us this week, and she mentioned that in the UK you have to be a member of a union in order to work there as an actor, but you can't work you can't become a member unless you get done some work. So it's kind of
That's right.
But if you are a member of Equity in New Zealand and you decide to go to the UK and try your luck there, you can work there with Equity membership.
Absolutely.
That's true.
You just get a letter from us and you go and join.
It's the
Equity
same
Union
with
straight away.
American Actors Equity, which is the stage union
That's awesome.
in the States.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did when I went over there.
Yeah.
However, I chose, because I was in a very small market, I chose not to join the union because there was not a lot of union work in the town that I was in. I was in
Michael.
Portland, Oregon, which is an awesome town, but not a big union town.
Michael Hurst has a great story about how he became a SAG union member, and you may want to ask him about that when he's talking this afternoon in the session.
But basically, I mean, in most of the big countries around the world that have actors' unions, you need to earn your card.
Absolutely.
You know, you need to do hours on a stage, on an approved equity stage with equity actors, so that you can learn your craft, and you can own that card. I think that's great. I'd love for us to get there. How cool would that be? How cool would that be? I mean, seriously, where you guys come out of school and you want to get on stage so you can earn your card, because it's a badge of your professionalism.
Well, thank you guys for this very insightful session, and thank you for